Howdy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cooking with Mackenzie. That's me. And today we're working with my horse, Canner, who is this good-looking guy right here. Canner is an Arabian gelding, who I've known for about 10 years now, and who is a rescue horse. So I thought I'd just demonstrate a little bit about clicker training today, show y'all some of what Canner can do, and talk a little more about where he came from, how we ended up being friends, working together, and how he became my horse. And yeah, so let's just get to it. So, like I said, Canner's an Arabian. He's a rescue. He was raised at first on a horse ranch that bred and sold Arabians for a good chunk of money. But unfortunately, he didn't get the usual socialization horses do at an early age. And as a result, he was very afraid of people when I first met him. So about 8 years into his life, he was acquired by a woman when she went out to the ranch, because, take a break, they were giving their horses, like they were selling their horses for a good chunk of money, and they told her that if she didn't get this horse, you want to take it? When she didn't end up buying this horse, they were going to take him to the canner, which is where they take horses to, make them into food for other animals. So she kind of bought him under duress, but at that time he was a really spooked horse. He wouldn't approach people. Circle. He had no training to speak of. Take it. You're really good. Would you like more pets? Okay. And he wasn't very comfortable around anything, especially not... What's going on here, buddy? Pets? Sore? Pets? Especially not new people, new objects, anything else. So everything I'm doing with him today, he can do because of training, and especially because of behavior modification and clicker training, which is just a form of behavior modification. So everything that he does today, he was incapable of doing when I first met him. He was too afraid to do. He would literally, if I did something like stand about 100 feet away and take a step towards him, he would try and run away. If he couldn't run away, he would get down and start shaking and frothing at the mouth. So that's where we started together. I couldn't touch him. He wouldn't take food. He was, a lot of people would have said that he wasn't food motivated, but slowly habituated him to lots of different things, and he got more interested in food over time. But mostly, this horse is only interested in food from people because, yeah, you're doing a really good job, thanks. It was a very long check-in. That was very sweet. Only because I was able to do a lot of work with him to get him there. At first, he didn't like apples. He wouldn't take apples. He didn't like carrots. He wouldn't take carrots. He didn't like grain. He wouldn't take grain. He wouldn't eat anything that people traditionally use as food for horses. So the fact that he even eats that today is all testament to his training. And a lot of people haven't encountered animals that are that averse to taking food from people. But it's a real thing, and it took a lot of training to get him comfortable enough to eat in proximity to humans at all. So, where are we at? You want to do a little demonstration, then we'll tell more story? I think he's kind of eager to train. So we'll just show you some of his cool stuff. You ready? Take a bow. Now he bows. Touch. Fist bump. He knows how to give fist bumps. Can you back up? His back up has gotten a little rusty. There it is. Bow. He likes to bow with a lot of stuff. Can you touch? Circle. That was very loud, huh? So he can do a lot of different behaviors. Those are just a few of his behaviors. Take it. He also has a very good leave it. He very likes to show off his leave it. Take it. Here you go. He's a little bit fly bitten. Yeah. None of these behaviors that he's demonstrating today would have been possible. And in fact, lots of people had tried to train him without using operant conditioning or clicker training. And a lot of his behaviors got much worse. He was very afraid of people by the time I met him. Foot. Now he lets me work his feet. And he can do a lot of other stuff. We'll show off a few of his other things in a minute. So when I came into the picture, the person who had recently adopted him was trying to work with him, not getting very far. Reached out to a friend of mine who also tried to work with him, was not having any success. And then reached out to me to see if I could use some of the behavior modification techniques I'd learned, primarily working with dogs, but I'd also worked with horses with it a bit, not super extensively. And then we started to have success using behavior modification, which is often the case. Behavior modification is just the art of, it's the science of training. In application, it feels more like an art because it is a skill set that you learn and use just like other arts. And there is kind of, a lot of it has to do with timing, reading your partner, which in this case is a horse, right? And knowing their, like, kind of what's motivating them, being able to tell if they're afraid of something and what their reactions mean. But that's all what we refer to as ethology. So, you know, the reactions, the instinctual reactions that they have in response to a stimulus that haven't been trained are called, oh, did you want to work with your target? We can do that. It's just your rope. Yeah, good job. You targeted that. Was that hiding there, waiting to get you? So you could see he was a little trepidatious right then. And that was all because the rope was there and he just noticed it. And he has had really bad experiences with ropes in the past. Touch. Good job. So that was just a very, for him, light response to that. Touch. This is his target stick. He's going to show off his nervousness with the rope. So one of the games that we learned early on was touch, monster. A game called Look at That, and we play it with things that are scary. So if he doesn't immediately look at it, it means he's feeling pretty okay. Target, monster. And then he's going to show me. Oh, he's like, I'm just itchy. I don't see any monsters, thank you. All right. But we'd play this game called Monster where he would see something scary, look at it, get a reinforcer. What that does actually is, you know, help him have a dopamine response in response to seeing the thing that was startling him, rather than a cascading fear response. Usually starts with, it can start with adrenaline or cortisone. I always get those conflated. And lead to big fear behaviors. So what we did is we retrained his brain together, him and I, to see scary things, offer alternative behaviors, and then have a positive chemical interaction in his brain. And that's how he got to this point with all sorts of different stuff. Our first challenge was just getting to the point where, you know, he would be comfortable around humans. Something's really getting you, huh, buddy? He's a little bit jumpy because there's a fly after him right now. He's not usually this jumpy. I'm just looking for that fly. Touch. And then from there, we had to work. I literally had to do something called counter conditioning and desensitization with everything from, what's getting you? I'll help. From myself, other humans, to taking hands out of pockets, to, you biting that? You're so funny right now. To being touched. All right, where is it? I'm gonna find the slide so that we're not both so distracted by it. Is it over here? Where is it? I don't see it. So keep moving to the other side when I get there. Touch. 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 To any sort of new object. So just having objects in my hand was something that would scare him for the first year I knew him. And then even after that, for a year or two, it'll be very careful about new objects that he hadn't experienced before. Is there a monster? He's really relying on this target stick because it's one of the first ways that I taught him to move around, and he believes in it as a safe way to get by scary things. So he's a little bit nervous about that rope being there, maybe something I'm not noticing, and so he's really eager to touch the target stick because in the past that's meant that he can move safely past something. Touch. And he's going to try touching the scary thing. Yeah, we had a little startle response. It startled me too. You okay? It didn't get you. Did that thing make a scary noise at some point or something? It could also just be that there's some stuff going on in the background. You want to try that again? Or is it too scary? Touch. Good. Monster. You don't have to do it. And he should know at this point that he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to touch it. But sometimes he gets a little brave for his britches, just like all of us. Monster. Yeah, see, it's not so scary. Did you just really need to demonstrate for everybody what it looks like when you work on scary stuff so that they believe me when I say that you used to be scared of a lot of stuff? Let's back it up. Yeah, it's okay. Can you relax? Relax is another behavior we taught. It's kind of a fake it till you make it behavior. Take a break. I'm gonna let him just have a break if he wants it. He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to train, he'll let me know. He says, I would like pets. So we're just gonna practice relaxing next to the scary thing. And petting, which was something I couldn't do with him for the first 6 months or so of knowing him, is now something he doesn't really need a reward for, although in contexts like this, I might give one just to help make sure that we're having a good positive association. And it also helps him relax, so usually. It's not totally reliable, but it's a positive behavior that he's associated with relaxing before. Pets? You want to move away from here? He's telling me he wants to go. Okay, let's go. He's also has been in the past afraid of going into scary new spaces. He's been in this space, but not enough to feel really comfortable doing it, so we have to practice that if we want to go in. He's definitely concerned about the engine noises behind us, and that's making him more spooky around other stuff, because there's this thing called trigger stacking, which just means that if there's a trigger, like going into a space like this, and then there's another trigger like that, lawnmower is definitely a trigger for him. If you have two of them at once, you're not going to have as much success with desensitizing an animal to either one. If you've worked on both of them separately, you can combine it later. And we've had to do a lot of combining, being afraid of multiple things and combining it until we're comfortable. So now I'm letting him just reliably play a game that he knows, that he's really comfortable with, which is just target a strange thing that's concerning him. It's a monster game, just like we played with the trash can. But we're making it really nice and easy to win, so it's predictable, and hopefully to decrease the stress level while that tractor's going. And I was going to demonstrate how to go in here, but with the tractor going, that might be a bad idea. I don't want to get hurt, and I don't want him to get hurt. And if he spooks in there, it's a lot easier to get hurt. Leave it. So eventually, the person who had rescued him just ended up not actually spending too much time with him at all. Probably just a handful, maybe like 20 hours. A bit off more than she could chew, I would say. And I was checking in on him, feeding him, doing training where I could when I was in graduate school, and just trying to help him be a more comfortable horse, doing a lot of the interacting with the place that he was pastured at. And she decided that he was too much of a financial burden for her to rescue him, and decided to have him put down. So the irony there being that she had rescued him from being put down and then decided he should be put down. And I thought I could rehome him, find him a good place to live. So Yeah, good singing, everybody. I told her I'd take him on if she would pay up his board for a few months. But unfortunately, people weren't really interested in having a horse that they couldn't ride, and he was still in that place. Pets. So I wasn't really successful rehoming him, but what was cool that happened is somebody at the newspaper in town got wind of what I was up to with him and wanted to see me do some training and help get the word out that he was available for adoption. And they wrote a newspaper article, which was actually one of the most read newspaper articles for the local newspaper that year. Oh, is there a donkey over there you just saw? Yeah, scary donkey just popping into view. And as part of that article, they mentioned me and what I was up to. And luckily for Canner and I, Suzanne reached out, the owner of the ranch here at Dunroven. And we worked out a deal where I brought him out here and got to do things like this, training on camera in exchange for his board. And he's been here ever since. And that's been a great boon to him and me. He's had a good, stable place to live, a bunch of horse friends, and people have been patient with him because he's not like the other horses around here who had a little bit better treatment early on and so have more predictable responses and aren't as spooky. And thanks to that, he's still going. Is that donkey running over there that scared you? Did you see a scary donkey? More pets? Okay. And over the years, since then, he's gotten much more comfortable. Being around people, a lot of the stuff that like a random ranch hand might do today probably would have resulted in really scary stuff happening in the past. But now he's got a lot of resilience. He can elicit a calm response behavior to novel things happening, which was really well outside of his reach for several years. He always ran if something he didn't expect to happen. But as you see today, he maybe got a little bit nervous because he's been away from the herd all day and a little bit worked up. But things that scare him, like lawnmowers, donkeys coming into view, take a break, and ropes being situated in funny places. All that happened, and he scared himself a little bit one time, but he was able to recover, keep working, and do a good job. And he's much more predictable and resilient and reliable for people. I think also a lot of people just don't. If you didn't see him 10 years ago, you wouldn't understand. But he spent 8 years being pretty spooky, and so we have to be careful about that because there's always a chance with an animal whose first behaviors were fear that they'll regress back to that if they have too many experiences that scare them right in a row. Those behaviors are always more accessible for them. That's part of why I'm not interested in riding him. I'm also very allergic to horses, so that's another reason. And I just don't think a horse needs to be ridden to be a good, helpful part of a community of horses or to get to live. So, Circle. He knows all sorts of behaviors. He could probably learn to ride at this point if I really was interested in it, but I'm not. I don't really see the point. And if 3 of those triggers happened all at the right time, somebody was on his back, he could, buck someone off or even worse, like trample them on accident or something out of fear. So he's just not a horse that, there's no real point in risking anybody's life by teaching him to ride well enough. And then one day a motorcycle comes with, a scary tractor behind it or whatever, and he spooks. So rather than getting him into that situation where bad things will happen to him eventually and to the other people, I just prefer to work on cool, novel behaviors and make sure that he can do most of his horsey maintenance stuff, like let me clean up his hoofs and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just demonstrate 1 or 2 other things that he's learned how to do before we call it a day here, if he's interested, and talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned along the way, thanks to getting to work with him. So my ability to train has gotten much better because of Canner. He's taught me all sorts of things about working with big, scared animals. He is definitely, I've worked with a lot of very difficult behavioral cases with dogs especially. in the past had a certification in training dogs with behavioral issues. It's very difficult to get. I was only one of 2 people at the time in the state who had that certification. But, you know, anytime you work with a different species, there's always differences. Whoa, there's an osprey chasing a heron over there. Unfortunately, I can't point the camera in that way, but I've never seen that before. There goes the heron. I think it's blue heron, or it's a crane. No, I think it's blue heron. And one of the ospreys chasing it off. That's pretty amazing. What was I even talking about? I don't know if you can point the camera that direction, but that's right where they are. They'll come into view, I think. So, and I've gotten much better about including, because of my horse. I'm just going to jump back into it here. That was just an amazing sight to see. Whoa! Using consent in my training, which was something I wasn't great at before I knew him, but it's been really helpful. So what do I mean by consent? He gets to say if he wants to work on something, and my goal is to keep the training fun and easy enough and interesting enough that he will succeed and keep saying yes to it. So one of the ways that I do that is I offer up, if I'm working on a halter, for example, the opportunity for him to interact with it and take breaks. And he gets to hit the halter if he wants to work on it. And then if he moves away and wants to take a break, they're still going. The osprey was still chasing that heron and it came back into the view. Amazing. I've never seen that before. Canner, have you seen that before? You've seen it all. You live outside. You see ospreys chasing herons all the time. You don't even think twice about it. You see a rope on a can, you think twice about that. But ospreys chasing herons, not so much. And then I let him determine the pace. And that's really good for scared animals to feel like they have say in what's happening with them. And I'd say it's good for all of us, right? Because if we're working hard on something but we don't feel like we have any say in it, it's a lot easier to have a bad time. And so we communicate that way. So he's offering willing participation. I'm checking that by moving away from him, so he has to keep coming to me to participate. And then I can also check it by having him target it first before I look for the behavior of like putting it more on. So we're gonna play with his ears. That's kind of a tricky point even now with his halter. Halters were really scary things for him. So the fact that he's at all interested in engaging with this is a huge win for this horse. This is a horse that would turn and buck and run away the first time he saw a halter before. And he says, now I'd like some pets. I did some halter work. Now I want you to get all my itchy spots. So he's taught me that. He's also just been a really good friend and check-in for me, usually a few times a week, at least once a week, for a long time. So we're good pals. And he's given back a lot, just as much as I've given to him. So that's my friend Canner. Thanks for joining us on this episode. I think we'll just do a little bit of fun run around time now. I don't want to push it with the halter because there's a lot of triggers right now, but we'll see. He's also very eager to go down to the riparian where all of his friends are, so I don't want to keep him too long. He's like, yep, it's time. I'm done with my training time. A lot of the times when he's like not kind of more eager to get back to his pals, he'll want to do some running around, but I think there's enough kind of going on that he's less interested in running around with me. But I was hoping we could get a few. What are you doing over there? What a goof. A few fun recalls, and I don't want to do it if he's not super into it because I want my recalls to always be good. Hi, Mystery. You would do recalls. I know you would. You want to do some recalls? Here you go. Take it. Take it. Yeah! He's like, I don't want to go too far away from this gate. I want to go around this gate. Take it. You walk around this way with me? We'll just do one laid out. Good job. He's a good leader. He'll take, you know, he doesn't really need a rope to lead or a halter. This is all stuff we've trained. And I think we'll call it there for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in and getting to know me and my horse a little bit more. Next time I'm out at the ranch for our next episode, we'll do a little bit of similar work with the donkeys who, because of Canner coming out here and getting to know him, I got to get to know them too. So that was a nice other reward from that too. A big thank you to James for running the cameras today. Thanks to all you for tuning in. And thanks to Suzanne for making it all go, to the ranch hands for keeping all the horses happy. Big old thank you to Canner for being such a great guy. Can I get a kiss? Thank you. He also knows how to give kisses. He's very good at kissing. He just has a very big tongue. He's very proud of his kisses. And thanks to all you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode. Ciao.